What is up, guys? We are back with another video, and today we're checking out Corsair's A500 CPU cooler. This is Corsair's first air cooler in 8 years, and we actually got a sneak peek of it back at CES in January, and I'll have a link below where you can go ahead and check that video out, but we have it here in the office. We've been testing it for the past week or so, so we're obviously going to tell you about performance, noise levels, and everything like that. But we're also going to go over some of the unique features it has as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. So to start things off, this is a massive CPU cooler. It's definitely one of the biggest coolers that we've seen so far in 2020. And I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen. And it weighs in at 1,460 grams, so it's definitely heavy as well. So you're definitely gonna wanna make sure this is gonna fit in your system. The cooler comes with a dual fan design, so you have fans on the front as well as the back of the cooler. This provides a push-pull system where the front fan is pulling air into the cooler and then the back is exhausting or pushing it out. Now these fans are Corsair's ML series 120 millimeter fans, and they spin up to 2,400 RPMs, pushing 75 CFM of air with up to 36 dBA of noise. Now the cool thing about these fans is that they're completely toolless, and they don't use those damn clips that we see on every other big CPU cooler. None of those wire fan clips. They have this really cool mechanism that just allows you to slide them up. You can take them completely off, slide them back down. That is one of the cool, new features about this cooler, is that the fans are just made to be easy. They're made to, easily be taken off and put back on, cleaned, whatever it may be. So that's definitely one of the cool things about this cooler. Another cool thing about this cooler is the top. So it has this sort of cap here on the top. And the reason I'm such a big fan of this cap is that so many of these high-end CPU coolers that we pay $100 for, they just don't look that great. They perform well, but a lot of them just don't look that great. So with this, we have this awesome top piece here. And this is actually a cap, as I said. So you can actually take the cap off, and it reveals the design of the actual cooler. And I initially thought this was one big heatsink because it looks like one big heatsink. But if you look at it, you can see down the center there that this is actually, technically it's one big heatsink, but it's more or less two heatsink towers that are connected by just a little bit there on the end. That is an interesting design because typically we don't see a kind of like a big heatsink with the center cut out. So we'll see how that does in our performance testing. Along with this big heatsink, you have 4 heat pipes, and these heat pipes start at the base of the cooler, and these are direct touch heat pipes, meaning that they'll make direct contact with your CPU. They say that that is better for heat transfer. Of course, we'll see that in our performance results. These heat pipes go from the base of the cooler up into the actual heatsink in sort of a U fashion. So again, this is sort of like a dual tower cooler in that way, but we have heat pipes going up into each side. Now, the interesting thing about these heat pipes is that they are different sizes. So I believe the 2 outer heat pipes are 4 millimeters, whereas the 2 center heat pipes are 6 millimeters. One thing I didn't mention about the base of the CPU cooler is that you can't see it here, but before we installed this, it had pre-applied thermal paste. And I actually kind of like that, just for the fact that, a lot of beginners might be installing this cooler and they don't necessarily know how to, install thermal paste or do it properly. So it's already pre-applied. So I do like that. I just caution that, when you pull this out of the box, make sure that you don't set it down on a table or something like that. They do have this like little thing here that should help you with that. But yeah, pre-applied thermal paste, I am a fan, and you do get extra thermal paste in case you do set it down on the table. They do give you a full syringe of thermal paste as well. Installation of the A500 is actually quite easy, and that's another thing I really like about this cooler, is that despite its size, it's quite easy to install. Now we're going to be installing on an AMD system, so our installation process is for AM4. The first thing that you're going to want to do is remove the mounting brackets on your AM4 motherboard. So these simply just screw off, and then you're left with the AMD backplate. From there, install the spacers and then install the included AM4 mounting brackets. These install, again, quite easily. And then all you have to do, since you again have the pre-applied thermal paste, you carefully place the cooler directly on top of your CPU, and you take the cap off, use the included screwdriver, and simply screw it in on each side, putting the screwdriver down through the center of the cooler. Again, for such a large CPU cooler, the installation couldn't be easier. The last thing that you're going to want to do is, of course, put that top cap back on, and then go ahead and connect the included Y cable. So this allows you to connect both of the fans to a single CPU fan header. With the cooler installed, you can see just how big it is. Now, during our installation, we actually just moved the fans up to get the cooler on there pretty easily, but you can see that our fans will pretty much cover our memory. So if you have something like RGB memory, it's kind of going to be a waste with this cooler because it's going to extend over that memory. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Moving on to testing, here is our test setup and list of installed hardware. First, we start with our idle testing, and this is done on the Windows 10 desktop. And as you can see, this cooler does really good during idle. It is kind of expected based on how big the cooler is and the fact that it has two fans. Now on to load testing, we run the AIDA64 system stability test for 1 hour and record the highest temperature throughout the test. As you can see, the A500 does really well, but it is beat out by a few other coolers that are right around the same price. Another new thing that we've tested lately is sound levels of fans when it comes to CPU coolers. So we use a dB meter and we go ahead and run our test, and the A500 is actually considerably louder than other coolers that we've tested recently. So is this the new king of air coolers? No, it's not. But that doesn't mean it's a bad cooler by any means. This is one very high performance cooler, and it has a lot of things that I think a lot of users will really appreciate. The first thing being that it is extremely easy to install. Our installation took about 5 minutes. You know, you could do this in a case, which says a lot considering the size of the cooler. It's just super simple, and again, a lot of people will appreciate that. Pre-applied thermal paste, a lot of people might think that's stupid, but I actually like it. Having the extra thermal paste as well is definitely a plus there. This whole fan mechanism I absolutely love because I hate fan clips. I always cut myself on the heatsink trying to, put my fan on and off. So these make things just, awesome as well. And then again, performance isn't horrible. It's not bad, but it gets beaten out by other coolers that are right around the same price. So, when it comes to performance, I think, Corsair could have done things a little bit better. And considering how big the cooler is, the fact that it uses two fans, that takes some things into consideration, because a lot of us, we want to show off our RGB memory, yet this covers up your memory pretty much. And again, like the Cooler Master MA620M, I think that cooler looks amazing. It provides better performance, yet with only a single fan, so it's quieter as well. The Noctua NH-U12A, same thing. It is a smaller cooler, yet provides better cooling. So definitely stuff to think about, but I think Cooler Master is on the right track with this cooler. I'd like to see a follow-up or a new version come out, in 6 months or something like that. That would, just be a little bit better, but I think they're on the right track. It's good to see them come out with an air cooler, first one in 8 years. So definitely, like I said, not a bad cooler, but there's a lot of competition out there. Now, I'll have a link below to my full written review of this cooler, as well as a link where you can go ahead and pick it up. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. And if you enjoy our tech content, go ahead and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video.